All right, since I've used my sourdough starter today, I am going to want to feed it both to help it bulk back up for when I want to use it again next, and to just help it continue to thrive. I've got my flour and my water. I use unbleached all-purpose flour for pretty much everything in my cooking. I used to use bread flour, and if you're using a bread machine, bread flour can be really, really helpful because you need that extra bit of gluten. If you're doing it by hand, bread flour is a totally optional thing. You can get a similar structure with regular flour. So I'm just going to add probably 2 tablespoons of flour, but I'm going to do it gradually. Flour. And the water is warm, but again, I'm kind of a barbarian here. I don't check the temperature. I run it over the inside of my wrist, my forearm, and I want it warm but not hot. Warm will help it grow faster, grow better. If you use cold water, you're going to have to just let it sit a little bit longer before it really activates. And then you want to mix it until it's smooth and add enough water so that it's the consistency you like in your starter. Some people want their starter to be almost a dough in and of itself, and they'll, cut off a hunk of it. Some people like it super liquidy. I like mine to be a fairly thick liquid, but still pretty liquid that I can scoop with a measuring cup easily or pour. There we go. And I'm going to let this sit out probably for most of the day so that it can have time to grow and enjoy its snack. You can see the nice bubbles showing up in here. I am using this a little bit more lately, so it's getting fed a little bit more often and getting to sit out more often. I do keep my sourdough in the refrigerator. My starter lives in the refrigerator to keep it from expiring if I forget about it, running out of a food source and dying, basically. Refrigeration can just slow down the process, and it also helps keep it from getting too sour. I have a few family members who don't like that really strong tang of a lot of sourdoughs. And this is a nice mild sourdough, so this helps me maintain that. And you can see that this is a nice, healthy, happy sourdough because it's got all those happy bubbles percolating away in there. So cover loosely, set in an out-of-the-way spot where it's not going to get too warm or too cold. And just let it sit there. If the starter was closer to the edge or the top of the jar, I used to use a much smaller jar, I'd have to put a plate under it to make sure that it didn't overflow and make a mess. So keep that in mind. If you're getting pretty close to the top of your jar, you're going to want to put something under it to catch anything so you can return it to the jar when you notice it. Stirring it will help reduce this likelihood of overflow, but it can't always stop it, and sometimes you just forget that it's sitting there growing. So